The Rover 800, engineering in a finer form. The Sterling, Rover's American nightmare. In this video we cover the Sterling, the Rover 800 for North America, the company's final roll of the dice in the region, which would end in catastrophe, leading to the exit of one of Britain's oldest and once proudest manufacturers from the region for good. This is the story of Rover's final expedition to North America, how Honda allegedly deceived its own ally, beating them to market and making sure some incredible cars would never see the light of day. From civilized excitement to disorganized tragedy, and how two Sterlings defied the odds to become globe-trotting stars. Hello everybody and welcome to this video. If you're not subscribed already, please make sure to do so. It really does help me out and you get to see more of this. More history videos and more projects like 2600R, my Rover SD1. In this video we will cover the Rover Sterling, some of the incredible prototypes of the Rover Coupe that could have made it to America. Do you have any Honda-based Rover memories? Let me know in the comments below, and what's your opinions on this topic and Rover's ill-fated attempt to capture the US market. Drop a like on the video if you liked it, but without further delay, let's get into the story of the Sterling. The Rover 800, launched in the mid-80s to replace the Rover SD1, was a new hope for Austin Rover, designed in collaboration with its new partner Honda, who were at the time looking for expertise to create their own luxury car. And what better a partner than the experienced but cash-strapped Austin Rover. From the agreement came the Honda Legend from the HX project, and XX the Rover 800 for Europe. But Rover and Honda both had ambitions to conquer the US market with their new large luxury saloons. Honda would establish Acura in 1985 as a luxury division to badge the Legend as a more upmarket offering in the US. Meanwhile, Rover had tried this before. The Rover P6 in the late 60s was launched in North America with the North American dollar area models, first with the 2000 and 2000 TC, and then the range-topping 3500S. The North American dollar area models had several changes. For example, the 3500S, unlike its European counterparts, was fitted with the Borg 135 automatic gearbox, instead of the manual gearbox fitted to its European cousins. These cars would have some interesting enhancements fitted as well: AC as standard, electric windows, and an ice alert system to warn the driver of possible ice on the road. But the P6, although a quality car, did not receive the same reception with American buyers as it did back home. And with less than 1,500 sold, it would be discontinued in 1971. At the time of its discontinuation, the opinion of the Rover brand with the general public was good, but thanks to poor sales it would be relatively unknown. That would all change in 1980. After a near 10-year absence, the Viking longship was sailing down the highways of the USA again, but this time in its wake would be the Rover SD1. Badged as the new Rover 3500, it would come in V8S trim with new North American spec headlights to comply with safety regulations. Rover was back, but sadly the Rover SD1 wasn't even given a chance. Its poorly executed launch at the hands of British Leyland 4,000 miles away had a ripple effect. By the end of 1981 it was all over again, with Rover failing to sell the first batch of 500 cars. These would be whittled away slowly through the decade. It was a short-lived venture, but a new hope was on the horizon: the collaboration with Honda, the Rover 800, with legendary Honda reliability and British design all in one complete package. In 1984, Austin Rover's management would begin to formulate plans for their third attempt. But there was a problem: branding. Rover, a once proud name, was sullied by build quality issues caused by strikes, mismanagement, and the resulting industry turmoil. Customers in the US needed a new name, one that evoked the country from which the car hailed. The new name Sterling was chosen, to evoke British luxury, the finest in quality and sophistication. A plan was then set in motion. This was going to be Rover's attempt to finally make it in the USA. A new entity was set up called Austin Rover Cars of North America, in partnership with one of the US's biggest car dealers, Norman Bramman, who at the time netted around 135 retail outlets for the new Sterling's launch. 30,000 cars were needed for the new launch in 1987. Austin Rover were confident that this new offering would capture the hearts and minds of America, and cement them as a byword for British luxury and quality. In February 1987, the Sterling would be launched. From Miami to California, the Sterling had arrived. The model range of 1987 to 88 would be the 825S and 825SL, with the 825S being well appointed at the time and the SL being a similar spec to the UK-based 825 Sterling. The launch brochure would speak of civilized excitement, even teasing the incredible EXE, hinting at Austin Rover's new dynamic approach to car making. During the promotional period for the car, you would even get your own piece of sterling silver. This would be given to first-time buyers. Its first year would be a smash hit compared to its predecessors, selling just over 14,000 cars in 1987. Acura though would launch the Legend Coupe that year, an idea that was not disclosed to Rover during the development of the Legend and the 800. This put Rover on the back foot, but 4 years earlier Rover had the same idea. They simply chose not to act on it. Meanwhile, as Acura's new model helped them gain market share over the fledgling Sterling, Rover was having an internal battle. Roy Axe, the director of design of Austin Rover, would lobby to create a two-door version of the 800. Even after the Rover CCV concept a year earlier had stolen the show in Turin, management was still not convinced that development of the coupe was a priority. A continent away, while Rover was fighting itself, Automobile magazine were finding out that civilized excitement after just over 2,000 miles would turn into a quality control nightmare. The magazine would run a Sterling for 1 year, purchasing one on launch, and in the first 5,000 miles the windscreen would leak, the fuel gauge would stop working and the steering wheel would bend off centre. During that year there would be 9 dealership visits in just over 20,000 miles. The fuel gauge only worked for 6 of the 12 months. The cruise control was the only consistent part of the car, managing to be consistently inaccurate by 10 miles per hour. It got so bad the magazine's writers refused to take the car on longer journeys. This wasn't an isolated incident either. The first JD Power survey would be published featuring the 825, with the Acura topping the list and the Sterling at the bottom. It was clear buyers sold British luxury with the finest in quality and sophistication had gotten exactly the opposite. It had happened again. History had repeated itself in a cruel way. Back at home, Project Anna, led by Roy Axe's design team in collaboration with IAD in Worthing, would be hard at work designing the coupe to win the American market. Refining their previous efforts, taking the original 1985 design to new heights with CCV elements, creating a convertible and a facelift coupe, perfectly pitched at the American market. Austin Rover would then go into overdrive, trying to save the reputation of the Sterling with glossy adverts. In 1988, the Legend would sell 71,000 units and the Sterling just 8,901. Build quality would start to improve thanks to improvements at home, but the car buying public had made their choice and the decline was set in motion. In 1989, the new 827 using the larger capacity C27A V6 would be launched in the new fastback design. That same year, this concept was created, the new Rover 800 Coupe, the R17, a beautiful two-door version of the new 800, the ideal pitch for any market, including the US. 1990 would see another extraordinary expedition from Rover, but this time Rover wouldn't just go stateside, they would go global with the Sterling Transworld. This started a year earlier in 1989. The Gaydon Test Centre would develop 2 Rover 800s like no others on the road, carbon fibre fuel tanks, reinforced sumps with extra shielding, and food and water heaters for the occupants. These were Rovers built for an expedition and to rebuild the reputation of the Rover abroad. If a Rover could travel around the world, it could certainly get you to work and back. The 2 Rover 800 Sterlings would depart the Tower of London on the 13th of May 1990 on a voyage, a sponsored attempt to drive around the world in 45 days, in order to break the previous 69-day record. The 2 cars would endure 24,901 miles through Scandinavia, Turkey, and onto West Germany, Australia, North America, Canada and Brazil. The 2 cars would have a backup team of Range Rovers, with the expedition organised by the Royal Army Ordnance Corps. The 800s would complete their expedition, and in 2005, G996 XHP, one of the cars that completed this fantastic voyage, would be sold for £2,000. It is not known where these cars are today. Sadly, sales of the Sterling were still declining, but there was a new hope on the horizon. In 1991, the car that Sterling had been waiting for was finalised. the Rover 800 R17 Coupe was ready and waiting to ditch its Rover badge and wear the Sterling one, but Sterling was still failing in the market. Austin Rover, now Rover Group under private ownership, was starting to feel the pressure, losing money on every unit sold. The ground they had lost thanks to the earlier build quality issues could not be recovered with just a coupe. And thanks to the exchange rates, irreparable damage caused by earlier issues, Rover Group would discontinue the Sterling in 1991, with just 2,000 units sold that year. Rover would never return to the US market. The story of the Sterling echoes the fate of Rover in its home country, a marque finally turning around, but thanks to past mistakes the public could not forgive or forget, sealing the fate of the Sterling and repeating history once again.